Nothing with Naughty Dog or The Last of Us Part 2 at this point could surprise me. I thought that half the game being leaked online was the worst situation that would happen surrounding this game, but I was definitely wrong. I'm not afraid to admit it. As most of you know, it's been getting extremely bad user reviews on sites like Metacritic, and it's no surprise why. If you don't want spoilers, this is your spoiler warning. But they killed off Joel extremely early in the game, and as a fan of the first game, The Last of Us Part 1, it's just not what I was expecting them to do. It's not the direction that I was expecting them to go in. The first game was focused around Joel and Ellie's relationship and the bond that they had, but killing him off so early was just so disappointing. What's the point to play a game where they literally wrote characters to be dumber to lead to their deaths? It's like they just completely wiped the intelligence Joel had out of his brain to get the story that they wanted. It's just like they didn't even care about what they had to do to get this character to die, but they knew that that's what they wanted from the story. But in this video, we are going to be talking about how Naughty Dog has misled The Last of Us fans with swapped models, specifically surrounding scenes with Joel. Now, after the first playthroughs went up online, a lot of people noticed these scenes and the differences because very early on, we know that Joel is dead. So we know that later down the line, the scenes that they showed in trailers, either they had cut out or they must have changed in some way. And after seeing those scenes, there are quite a few big differences. So this is an SP First article. Naughty Dog has misled The Last of Us fans with swapped models. They did put all of the scenes together pretty well, or the scenes that I know of. Now that The Last of Us is out, it's now confirmed that some of Naughty Dog's marketing claims didn't turn out to be truthful to gamers. The Last of Us Part 2 false advertising has been spotted as Naughty Dog has purposefully replaced character models to mislead fans. Warning to all, this story is filled with spoilers. So back in 2016, Naughty Dog debuted The Last of Us 2 trailer. In it, we saw Ellie covered in blood and playing a guitar, with an old man version of Joel making an appearance at the very end. It was clear from the trailer that Ellie was on some sort of revenge path, setting the stage for expectations. As you can see, this is the scene that they describe. We have Joel watching Ellie play the guitar. Now, of course, being 4 years old now, the development of The Last of Us Part 2 likely went through a lot of changes. In fact, the scene is no longer present in the final build of the game, which shouldn't come as much of a surprise considering that it was just a teaser. However, the tease originally implied that Joel had a much bigger involvement in the main campaign. This, in fact, is actually backed up by evidence, as the studio had marketed Joel's to be far more involved in the latter portion of the story. Again, spoiler warning, if you haven't seen The Last of Us Part 2 yet, then we suggest you skip this next section as it will touch upon heavy spoilers from the game. Now, this is what I thought at first, that obviously the game has been in development for about 7 years now. I think that's how long it's been in development, since right after the first game. Of course, it's going to go through a lot of changes and just a lot of character development, and the studio evolves as well. Their ideas change, but to keep these trailers up and to keep using the same trailers, if it was the case of, oh, they just had changed the story elements, then that's still false advertising, that's still false marketing. If you had evolved so much from 7 years ago from your original story, then you need to make trailers that reflect that. So in The Last of Us Part 2, Joel is brutally murdered at the very start of the game, a rather controversial moment for many. However, it's actually the scenes that occurred later in the campaign that has many wondering if the death was actually originally intended. Taking a look at the trailer from 8 months ago, there's a scene where Joel appears and grabs Ellie from behind. He utters a line, "You think I'd let you do this on your own? Have a watch below." As you can see, I just have the video paused, but that is where it starts. And then, of course, this is where he is replaced. It's the same line and the same scene. Jesse has replaced has replaced Joel in this trailer. As you can see in both backgrounds, the very same staircase. The only difference is Joel is absent. Here is a good side-by-side comparison made by a Reddit user, but I do think that if they really had evolved their story so much, they needed trailers to reflect that, and they don't. I mean, the actual game is different from the trailer. And also, if you watch all of the trailers that they've put out over the past couple of years since they announced The Last of Us 2's, I guess, existence and the development and it was going on, they've had a lot of trailers that have featured Joel and have put a heavy emphasis on Joel. And I do think that's because people wanted a game with Joel. A lot of people were excited to see that bond continue between Ellie and Joel and see, you know, with Ellie being older and of course Joel being older, how their relationship would evolve and how it would flourish. And you really don't get a lot of that. Yes, The Last of Us Part 2 does feature a lot of flashbacks, but flashbacks still aren't the same as the game that is going on. It's hard to explain because, yes, the flashbacks are cool, but that doesn't make up for the fact that you literally killed off Joel because you felt like it. It just didn't make a lot of sense. I know that Abby wanted revenge on Joel for what he had done, but it's still so disappointing, and I think that if fans had known that Joel wasn't going to be a big part of the game, I do think that it would have affected how many people actually purchased the game. It does continue on, though, with this isn't the only instance that Naughty Dog has replaced character models. And in fact, they did so less than a month back, with the official story trailer, as a good chunk of scenes featuring Joel show him as an older version along with Ellie. Here is one from this 2020 story trailer and one from the final game. I'm just going to scroll through them. As you can see, one, you know, they are a little bit different graphically. Ellie's outfit is different, but they're still using footage that I would assume isn't that old. So yeah, they did change around her outfit and they did change the faces a little bit and polish the game, which the game graphically does look amazing, but you still have to consider the fact that they marketed it as if Joel was a big part of the game when he wasn't. So the article finishes off with, yeah, we have to say this is most definitely not good on Naughty Dog's part, as it's clear that the scenes are portrayed as completely different. One clearly takes place in the present while the other a flashback, but it's clear that both characters differ in their ages. We aren't sure why Naughty Dog decided to make these edits, but no doubt they are clearly misleading. Perhaps it was to hide some of the story spoilers. Either way, this isn't going to sit well with many, as it comes off as advertising a different game due to characters' age differences in each scene. I do see a lot of people trying to say that maybe it was because they wanted to hide the story, and yes, I think that it was fine to do that in a way, but the problem is that it wasn't just with one trailer, it was with multiple trailers, and you know, they talked in interviews about Joel and Ellie's relationship continuing, so it's just everything, it's not just one trailer. This happens with quite a few games where they will make the trailer seem a little bit different to hide big story pieces, but the problem is you have the trailers, and then you have interviews, and then you have gameplay and everything, and it just all adds up. It does sound like the game has evolved quite a lot, and they had original ideas that they ended up changing, but the problem is that it is still misleading and false marketing. You're literally showing trailers with scenes still in the game, but with different characters. Of course, that is going to add to the many reasons why people are disappointed with Naughty Dog and how they've handled the game. If they had maybe given updated trailers for the game that had less of a presence on Joel, then I think that people would have picked up on that, but they put a big emphasis on Joel and Ellie and how their story was continuing when really it's only Ellie's journey. But that is all that I had to discuss in this video. What do you all think of this situation? Do you think that this is very misleading, or do you think it was just to cover up the story so that it would be more shocking when you finally got to that big Joel moment? But if you enjoyed this video and found it important, please make sure to give it a like, and of course if you did not, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.